So hello and welcome everybody. Thank you for joining us and attending Cocktails and Conversation with Molly Grotjan, Shannon Kang, and Anna Szolwinski. I'd like to introduce you to Molly. She is the president of the Purdue Foundation Student Board, Shannon, president of the Purdue Student Government, and Anna, president of the Barbara Cook chapter of Mortarboard. We will begin by having each of the panelists introduce themselves and their organization. Then I will ask them some questions regarding leadership and end by taking audience questions. If you have a question, please type it in the chat. Molly, would you like to go ahead?
For sure. Thanks so much, Maria. Hey, everyone. Super excited to join you tonight and thankful for the opportunity. So thanks so much for having me. Like Maria mentioned, my name is Molly Grotjan, and I currently serve as the president of Purdue Foundation Student Board. In addition, I grew up in Zionsville, Indiana, and am currently a senior studying agribusiness. After graduation, I will utilize my degree in supply chain and business strategy supporting the food and agricultural industry in John Deere. As a 3-year member, I'm thrilled to share with you today about Purdue Foundation Student Board, better known as PFSB. We're a campus-wide organization where our members serve as ambassadors to Purdue University's philanthropic initiatives and stewards to alumni and donors by fulfilling the university's private giving goals and facilitating events. In doing so, we develop members to be impactful leaders on campus and in their communities through building lasting relationships and creating leadership opportunities. We really ensure that the impact of private giving endures between past, present, and future Boilermakers while developing leaders who will move the world forward. PFSB members have the unique opportunity to assist with select Purdue for Life events on campus and expand PFSB's mission on campus by educating the student body about the impact of philanthropy at Purdue. As president of PFSB this year, I serve alongside an amazing executive board team. One of those members is with us tonight, Anna. And I'm just super excited to be here with you all tonight. So thanks again for the opportunity, and I'll turn it back over to Maria.
Hi, thank you for that, Molly. And Shannon, would you like to go ahead and introduce yourself and your organization, please?
Yes. Hi, everyone. My name is Shannon Kang. I'm from Atlanta, Georgia. I'm studying political science and Spanish. I'm a Korean American, and like I said, I was born in Atlanta, Georgia. I ran for PSG president this past year in 2020 with my friend Olivia Wyrick. And we really ran because we were always involved in PSG. She started on the legislative branch, and I've been and had started serving on the executive branch since my freshman year. So PSG is divided into 3 branches, just like the United States government. And in the executive branch, we have the board of directors, which is made up of 9 committees. And some of them are the diversity and inclusion committee, sustainability. We have a mental health committee, programming, engagement. And this is just all to run events and serve the students. So whatever needs each committee is designated to, and whichever committee that the directors are a part of, that's kind of like their main focus there. The legislative branch kind of helps us pass key pieces of legislation that we want to work towards. So we just rolled out a Pride ad hoc committee, which is going to focus specifically on students and LGBTQ plus issues. And then in our and those students are voting and making sure that the president's goals, budgets are all just fair, like checks and balances within the organization. And then court deals with mostly parking violations, but also with our elections and any concerns that we have internally. So we have justices and clerks and a Supreme Court justice. So it really helps a lot of students put into practice maybe the career path that they want to take on. But we have such a great diverse team of students who really make up, I think, every single corner of campus, which is how we can be such an effective organization and a student government.
Thank you for that, Shannon. Appreciate that. Anna, would you like to go next?
Definitely. So my name is Anna Szolwinski. I am a senior studying business communication with minors in management, women's studies, and Spanish. I'm from Cincinnati, Ohio, but both my parents went to Purdue. My mom is actually on the call tonight, so that's kind of fun. I am this year the president of the Barbara Cook chapter of Mortarboard. So Mortarboard is a national honor society. There's about 200 chapters across the country, And the Barbara Cook chapter at Purdue selects about 42 students, senior students every year based on the pillars of scholarship, leadership, and service. So it's a really great way for senior students to have an opportunity to meet each other and get to know each other. You know, a lot of times we're running around on campus and don't really have that opportunity to get to know students from different areas of campus. And so that's one of our focuses as an organization. But we also aim to kind of impact campus within our 3 pillars. So we have a scholarship branch, a leadership branch, and a service branch. So our scholarship branch is focused on commending students for their academic performance. We also sell the Purdue Mortarboard calendar every year. So maybe some of you all have a calendar as well. Our service branch is focused on campus outreach. So right now we're doing something called Cheers for Peers, where we are receiving nominations for students who are doing good in the community and then giving them a little cheer to kind of commend them for their work. And then our leadership branch, every year we host the Mortarboard Leadership Conference, and we also select Mortarboard honoraries to be a part of our organization on campus. So these are staff, faculty members who embody the pillars of scholarship, leadership, and service as well. So excited to talk to you all today, and thank you again for the opportunity, Maria.
You're very welcome. So thank you, Anna, for that. Anna, you'll be my first person that I'll be asking the first question. So first question reads, what has been the most significant barrier to your success?
I was reflecting on this one after you gave it to us, and I struggled to come up with one significant barrier. I think I've been really blessed with a lot of opportunities from my family, from Purdue, growing up. And I think probably the biggest challenge I faced at Purdue is just kind of navigating and creating my own path here on campus. So I actually started in exploratory studies. I was completely undecided what I wanted to do. I knew I didn't want to be an engineer and I didn't want to be a doctor, but that was about it. So I really kind of had to figure out what I was interested in, what I was passionate about, kind of how my skill set fit into different majors and different careers. And I think this was the biggest challenge for me coming to Purdue, knowing that a lot of students come to Purdue as STEM majors, as engineers. They kind of have that one path that they take. They know what organizations they want to be a part of. They know what internships or companies they might want to work at. But for me, someone who was undecided and then later deciding on communication, which is a pretty broad major that can lead you into anything, that was something that I really had to navigate in terms of what organizations do I want to be a part of? What people do I want to meet? What do I want my Purdue story to look like? And I think my freshman and sophomore year, I was really figuring out what that looked like for me. But now as a senior, I'm really grateful that I had that challenge and was able to learn more about myself, to really meet a lot of diverse students on campus. I think it's made me a stronger person, a stronger leader, and set me up for success after graduation as well.
So thank you for that. Was there a particular person in mind that helped you kind of navigate through all that these 4 years that was your guiding light, as you say?
I wish I could say there was one person. I think I've been blessed with a lot of wonderful female mentors, one of which that comes to mind is Dean of Students Emerita, Betty Nelson. She's been really instrumental in inspiring me to get involved on campus, to introducing me to the history and the legacy of the female leaders at Purdue. And that's been something that I've tried to embody as I've been a leader at Purdue as well.
Great answer. Thank you, Anna. Okay, who should I pick next? How about you, Shannon? How do you keep your team motivated despite conflicts and obstacles?
Yeah. So when Olivia and I were running for office, her and I really look up to someone named Brene Brown. She's a researcher. She studies vulnerability, courage, all of the great stuff, all of the stuff that we really don't like to talk about. And I think when I was first learning about what she researches, I think it was taken out of context, but I'm just going to share some of the things that I've learned and I've tried to apply, especially in student government. I think one thing is when you're in a leadership position within any organization, but especially within student government, you have to remember that who you're serving and like what your goal is for that organization. And for PSG, it's to serve the students. And we basically our motto for student government is with you and for you. So we're mingled in with the students, and we are students. So meaning that when you are working with with your peer and like a more of like a professional level, we have to remember that we have really similar experiences. Thus, we are able to easily understand each other and on a more personal level. So it's okay if you were up until 3 a.m. and you can't meet a deadline, because that deadline should be very flexible. And then also just learning how to be, I wouldn't say vulnerability is very motivating, but I think it's encouraging because it kind of humanizes us. And first I thought, vulnerability was a lot about like sharing a lot, but Brene actually says that it's not. It's not about oversharing. It's more about like meeting people where they are and just like showing up as best you can. So if I'm on my A game one week and someone that I'm expecting from the sustainability committee to host an event for by the end of the week isn't really like up there, not only it's not about bringing myself down, but it's just about like providing some grace for that person. And given the position that I'm in, and also given the amount of help that I get from the cabinet and from other directors within the committee, just leaning on them and saying that those conflicts aren't your downfalls. They're really just like things that we're going to get through together as a team and as an organization in order to meet the end goal, which is to execute and create a really positive experience for Purdue students. So that's really what I would say. So just making sure that students aren't losing focus and allowing them to like be where they are and not having to overcompensate to be where I am, or for me not having to like lower myself or lower my motivation level just to meet someone where they are.
Great answer. Quick question. Have you bought the book Atlas of the Heart?
I have not, because I am going through her book Dare to Lead right now. So
okay.
that big monster is waiting. It's on my list.
Yes. I don't know if the Audible version's ready yet, because I just love her Audible versions too. So
yeah,
great answer. Thank you, Shannon.
Thank you.
Molly, I'm going to try to throw you off a little bit. Because I just love Molly so much. What is the one thing you wish more people knew about you as a student leader?
Oh my gosh. Hard to pick one. I think the biggest thing that has really encouraged and inspired and motivated me in general is setting the intention to serve others. And the leaders that I've always looked up to most, whether they've been here at Purdue or they've been in the professional world, has really been focused on the heart of servant leadership. And of giving and serving others to ensure that they can achieve success and to push forward and help them find what they deem successful and what they want to do, and to serve others as well. So I think if I just had to choose one that I wish people knew a little bit more about me, and I think I can always do better about showing this in my actions and in my words, which is that my intention is to serve others and to help them achieve success and help them overcome things, and honoring just the value that others bring. And very much like Shannon said, is just meeting people where they're at and helping them to do what they need to do, whether that's in a student organization, but I think also, whether it's for professional support, like internship, interview support, or helping with a cover letter or resume, or just, staying after a couple minutes after a meeting. I think there's always things I can be doing better to really be a servant leader, but that's something that my intention is just to help others achieve their goals, and help them really achieve success and excellence in whatever they want to pursue.
Can you give us an example, Molly, of how you did that for one particular person? No names.
For sure. For sure. So I currently am in the agricultural economics department here at Purdue. And there is a female sophomore student currently right now. And something that really inspired and impacted my time at Purdue is the value of mentorship that's had on my Purdue experience and what I've pursued outside of Purdue. So I asked my advisor, said, is there anyone I can mentor in this department? And she, luckily set me up with someone that was a really good fit with me. We align on a lot of our different passions in agriculture and business and things like that. And there was one time when she was like, hey, can you meet with me? I really am hoping to get into one organization. Would you be able to support me with interview help? and preparing and helping me to understand how to navigate the interview process itself. And I said, for sure. So it was a really busy week, to be very candid with you. The spring semester, I don't know about what it is, but it's always 10 times busier than the fall. It just feels like around here. And so it was a busy time. And I luckily made time for her like the day before the interview, just for her schedule and my schedule to kind of align. And so I sat down with her for about an hour and a half, and we went through interview responses and potential questions that folks might ask, and then helped her prep kind of on what the organization did and how she could be a good fit for it. And so I think by, giving her my time and giving her, some of the experiences that I have and the lessons that I learned through interviews and student organizations and things like that, she was able to luckily get into the organization, and now she's a thriving member of it.
Yay. Great example of servant leadership. Thank you for that, Molly. Shannon, we'll come back to you. What advice would you give to future female student leaders?
Oh my gosh. I think this question, so this question kind of goes like hand in hand, and I don't know if you're going to ask this, so I'm sorry if I'm taking two questions, but it's more like, how can like women help women?
Yes.
So what sort of like advice would you give to someone who wants to be in leadership? And recently I can like give you an example. So I'm also on the West Lafayette City Council, and it's a 4-year term. And someone reached out to me because she wants to run, and she was telling me something like, she's about 24, and she was kind of nervous about like what it would look like in the public eye to be single, to like not have a spouse, and like especially just kind of like in the climate and in the area that we're living in. And I like really was, I was like, that's such a valid concern. But luckily, just like in the community that we live in right now, it's like in the bubble maybe of West Lafayette, in the bubble of Purdue, that never really came up. Like I've never seen an article that read Shannon Kang single runs for office, or like Shannon Kang single votes down this bill, but I can definitely see how that comes up in other spheres. So I'm going to speak specifically to Purdue. I don't think it's something to even worry about. It is very new to have female presidents, female leader, like female just presidents. I mean, Olivia and I are the second female, all-female ticket that Purdue student government has seen. But I think what was lacking was not that there wasn't a positive culture around it. I think what was lacking was that support and mentorship that we all desperately need, and also that we've all probably experienced to be where we are right now. So I think sponsorship and really like being aware of who you're recommending to jobs, or who you're recommending to fill and like I guess job referrals or organization referrals, just being super aware of who you like, maybe their identities or maybe their cultural backgrounds. You can start to see more women in leadership if you are very aware and just like wanting to see more of that. And the more you kind of open your eyes, the more, instead of it being a position, but being really about like the person filling that position, I think then we can see not only like a lot more females in leadership positions, but also like a gathering of a more concentrated organization with more female leaders. And we've seen that female leaders are just as effective, if not more effective, as male leaders, thus higher success rate, I'd say. So that's my answer.
Yeah, thank you. I'm thinking New Zealand here. Thank you for that.
Yeah.
Anna, well, you'll tackle this part of that question too. How can women help women?
So I'm going to answer this from the perspective of a communication major, because I think there are so many ways that women could help women, and we could be here all night talking about it. But for me, I think when I look to my career after Purdue in the workplace, in a professional setting, what it comes down to me is kind of helping women find their voice and helping to support other women's voices. We know that when there are multiple women in a room, they're more likely to speak out and to voice their opinions and to be participants in the conversation. And so for me, that's something that's really important to do when I see other women in meetings or in social groups who might be struggling to voice their opinions or speak up or be part of the conversation, or maybe they do try to speak up, but it's kind of ignored or stifled by another voice in the conversation. It's important to me in those situations to support their voice, to come back to it and say, hey, I'd like to come back to, XYZ's person opinion on this, or, oh, what does XYZ person have to say on this? I think that's really important in terms of, getting our voices out there, getting our perspectives into the conversation. That's essential as we move forward and as we help build up other women leaders. I think it's all about what can you do to build other female leaders up rather than kind of view them in a competitive lens, which I think a lot of people believe that women do. I don't know that to be true, but I think it's really important to be an ally, to be a friend, to be a supporter, and to make sure that you have each other's backs.
Can you give us an example, Anna, of how you've helped another fellow student in that situation?
Yeah, so in my PFSB committee, actually, we have a lot of kind of strong male-dominated voices in our committee, and they are super talented as well and produce a lot of great ideas. But I have seen some of our female committee members struggle to kind of interject into the conversation, and they have just equally talented ideas and ways to improve. And so in those situations, like I said, reaching out saying, hey, unnamed person, what's your experience with this? Or what are some ideas that you have to improve this initiative the next time that we do it around? And it's been really great to see them grow in confidence and now be able to kind of speak up without having that prompting.
Great example about including everybody in the conversation. So thank you for that, Anna. Okay, do we go back to... Yes, we do go back to Molly. Okay. What are the most important attributes of successful leaders today?
Oh, well, that's a really good one. I think number one, as an important attribute that I've really found that helps me is the importance of reflection. So after every meeting, it's doing like a 5-minute reflection. I have like a notes page in my phone of like, how did this go from a facilitation standpoint? Like, what could I have done better? Was there someone that I wish I would have engaged a little bit more with during the meeting? So that is one that's like really quick, but I also do every 2 weeks, like a 30-minute reflection about kind of just like how I feel like I'm doing. And that can go in like all facets of life, like everywhere, like school, student organizations, professional life. And the power of reflection, I feel like, is really big because it tells you, maybe some opportunities or avenues where you can improve and, better serve organizations that you're in or help out people a little bit more. And so I think just the importance of reflection is really important as well. And that type of self-evaluation and kind of analyzing the products in your environment and kind of how you respond to them and work through them, to ensure that I'm being the best person and the best example, to those that I connect with and things like that. So I think the importance of reflection is a really big one. I think the other thing about this is just that you're able to help celebrate other success with compassion and genuineness. So, when someone says that they got a job, it's like, hey, congrats, like, this is awesome. Or, hey, you hit this milestone or you achieved this goal, like, let's celebrate. And just for example, we did a mid-year survey and PFSB and had pretty good results. And so the question I asked in the meeting to the executive board was, hey, what are you going to do to celebrate your success? And so, members shared what they were going to do in their free time to celebrate their success. And so I think another important attribute is really celebrating those around you when they do something great and being there for them, when things don't always go great as well.
So reflection, self-evaluation, and celebrate other success. That's wonderful. Thank you for that. I'm just writing it down. I'm just thinking with your little reflection book and your notes. I know what you're talking about. You could probably create a book after that. How about all
Yes. It's so long. It just goes on and on.
I get that. I'm curious. How about you, Shannon and Anna? Do you also do reflection? Do you also do something similar to what Molly does?
Yeah. Oh, okay. I can go first. I think reflection, I I'm not the best at it. I think recently I was actually just watching a YouTube video. There are several, don't go out and look for them, but there are several like YouTube videos of me in a town hall or in a PhD Senate meeting. And, sometimes I really find myself like cringing at those videos. But now that I realize after watching a few with not at my own, like it was just kind of on and someone was like, oh my God. Watching that and just trying to realize like where I've started and where I've come to, like to the point that I've been at, has been really tremendous. And I really want to continue that. And I think starting like a little notes page for yourself is really crucial. But I love what Molly said about celebrating, because like I think someone like Molly is able to celebrate someone else's success because like she has so much success and she recognizes that. And I remember hearing something where people are like, you see it, things in other people that are reflected in you. So if you are beautiful and you can see beauty in other people, that means that you have beauty. But I think what a lot of people think about like compliments or celebrating other people's accomplishments means that there's less of that in their own life, but it's not. And that ties back into the how women can help women. People are sometimes like, I'm not friends with girls because they're so catty, they're so diva-ish, there's so much drama. Well, no, I think that's exactly that reflection of, well, if I celebrate you, if I compliment you, that means that there's less of that in me, but it's exactly the opposite. So that's how I think that's kind of why we're all here today, to celebrate each other and to kind of like unite as Boilermakers who have graduated and are very proud of each other, and being able to applaud each other and say like, you're doing amazing, you're going to go really far, means that everyone here watching our little video spotlighted means that you guys have come really far and you guys are really proud of what you've done.
Well said. There goes our Boilermaker plate. Thank you. Anna, would you like to add?
Yeah, sure. So I think prior to the pandemic, I did not reflect at all. It was a big weakness for me. I was just kind of going, and never took that time to sit down and think about, things I could do better, things that I wanted to celebrate. But I think COVID-19 and just being at home and being quarantined and kind of having all of that in-person interaction taken away has given me the opportunity to reflect and allowed me to really learn more about myself as a person. When orgs aren't going all the time at school, what do I really enjoy at Purdue? Who are the people that I want to spend my time with? And, what do I want to get out of this last year as a senior on campus? And so I think over the past year or so, I've really learned the value of reflection, and it's made me more confident in myself and my decisions in what I spend my time doing. And it's something that I definitely want to continue after graduation in terms of both my professional life, but my personal life as well.
It sounds like through that, you've learned also how to prioritize, what's important, what's not. So
yes,
things came out of this pandemic, right?
The power of saying no, it has been learned.
Yeah, which a lot of us need to kind of learn better, be better at. Ladies, for those attending this Cocktails and Conversation, if you like, please go ahead and post your questions to our panelists in the chat, and I'll be happy to ask them after I've asked these last 3 questions that I have for them. So please feel free to put your question in the chat and share your question, and I'll be happy to share with them. Okay, so the last 3 questions, and who will go first? Molly. Okay, let's see. What do you think what do you think helped you make the most of your time at Purdue?
I think the things that really helped me make the most out of my time at Purdue was people, because I think people really encouraged me to live in the moment. So whether it was in a student organization and working on a task or a project or a long-term initiative, or it was just like doing something fun, like going to a basketball game with a friend, or being in a learning community my freshman year, I think those type of communities and environments that allow you to, foster relationships with people and encourage you to be in the moment is what has really allowed me to make the most of my time at Purdue. And so it's really just taught me to like live in the moment, to, be who I am, to be confident in who I am, to, just have some fun and really take advantage of the time at Purdue, because 4 years, I'm just like now looking at it, goes by so dang quick. Not ready for it to end quite yet, but as I sit back and I look back just a little bit, I just feel so grateful for the people and the experiences that I shared with those people, the people that I'm going to take after Purdue and really grow our friendship even further. I'm just, so grateful for my time at Purdue for that.
May will come too soon or not soon enough in both ways, right?
You're right.
Right. Okay. Well, yeah, thank you for that. We'll be there at your graduation. Okay, the next question would go to Anna. With such a busy student life, how do you find balance and stay physically and mentally strong?
Good question. So probably what's had the biggest impact is being involved with Group X at Purdue. So my freshman year, I completely went out of my comfort zone in my effort to find my passions and my strengths and my skills. And I applied to be a group fitness instructor at Purdue. And it has been truly one of the most unique, exciting involvements during my time on campus. I teach cycling, and it is something that, not only am I getting paid to work out, which is kind of nice, it forces me to get some physical activity. It's also a great way to meet just such a great community on campus of people who are wanting to lift each other up, to support each other in their fitness goals. And so that's been a really great way for me to stay physically fit. Mentally fit, again, I think since COVID-19, I've gotten better at kind of taking care of my own mental health in terms of making sure that I have time to recharge in whatever way that looks like, if it's just scheduling time to watch a movie by myself, or if it's scheduling a walk or a coffee with friends every Friday. That's something that's become really important to me, because I've learned that, as you go throughout your week and you're draining your energy and your motivation, you need something to refill that cup. And if it doesn't get refilled, you can't show up in your best way for yourself and for others. So I think carving out that time, I know all three of us live by our calendars. And so just being really intentional about saving time for yourself and whatever kind of recharges you and gives you that energy to start out the next week strong.
Don't forget what you're saying tonight, ladies, and make sure that you carry that with every phase of your life, okay? It's a very strong message. Thank you. Thank you for that. I'm going to ask, because of the state of the world that we're in right now, I think this is quite an important question. So I'd like to pose this question to all three of you. So despite how busy your life is as a student, how do you stay mentally and physically fit? I'll start with Shannon.
Let's see. I would say I definitely, that question of what are your hobbies? Sometimes I catch myself being like, what are my hobbies? And just exactly like trying to carve out some time to do that. I think my first one is definitely cooking. It's like a time to just concentrate on yourself and concentrate on like re-nourishing your body and your brain to continue and like keep being a healthy person in order to be a student leader, in order to be a runner, in order to be a weightlifter, like all of those things. So I've loved doing that. Recently, love therapy. I found a really great therapist who I love. I talked with her almost weekly, and it's just like such a great personalized way, like a doctor's checkup that a lot of people forget to do. You can go to the doctor and the dentist all the time, but people really just don't take the time to go and check on their mental health. So I found that to be really helpful, and I just advocate for, and PSG has a week dedicated to mental health in March that's coming up. And I think our big message there is just like breaking the stereotype of mental health. And I think therapy is one of those. So I like to talk about it in every sphere that I'm in. It should be very normal. And physically, I think, again, the feeding myself, renourishing myself, and trying to go on walks. The Indiana weather doesn't really help so much with that, but walking to class is even something, especially within a schedule. Just walking to class, getting some fresh air, taking a phone call outside can really shift how your day turns out. So little things like that. And the co-rec has definitely, like with the pandemic, it's been difficult to go, but in any way you can, being physically fit and mentally fit is definitely a priority of mine.
Yes, it should be. Thank you, Shannon, for that. And thank you for highlighting therapy in general. I wish it was more normalized, something that just easily in the conversation as you would bring up doing cycling, for example, so yeah, I appreciate you saying that. Molly, how would you handle that question?
Well, very transparently, I feel like this is really hard to do as a student because times shift and busyness and seasons shift a lot. But I think something that's really allowed me to find a balance is to give myself grace in areas where I cannot give 100% all the time, as much as I would really like to. And really by giving myself grace, it kind of allows me to find the balance in what I'm doing, and really peace to forgive myself for areas that I've fallen short, or, wish I could improve on, or, just wish I could be better on in general. So very much have to agree that I think the things that energize me from staying balanced and staying physically balanced is like going on campus for a walk and seeing people on campus and just being active on campus in general. And sometimes that's often alone. So while it's great to see people, I like to take a walk alone sometimes to just clear my head or listen to my favorite type of music and just kind of reflect for a minute and take away from the desk. And then I think mentally strong is just from giving myself grace in certain areas where I might fall short.
I love that. Give ourselves grace and give others grace as well. And also admitting to it, right? Admitting that we can't do everything, and that's, and it's okay. So thank you. Thank you for highlighting that. We have a lot of questions in the chat, so we're going to get to this last question first, and then I'll go ahead and read the questions from the chat. I believe, and now correct me if I'm wrong, Shannon, you were the last one. How have your student experiences helped prepare you for your future? That's a question that can apply to everybody, but let's go ahead and start with Shannon.
Yeah, and I'm going to tie it in with one of these questions. Not because there was a really great compliment thrown in, but Amy, you asked if the classwork has developed these skills, or if it was kind of like the extracurriculars that we've been doing. And I would definitely say that one of the things I'm very proud of that I did in college is being very involved on campus. It's very obvious that you're going to go to university and study, hopefully something that you're passionate about and something that you will be almost like an expert in the future. But I think that can only really teach you so much if you aren't curious, if you don't stay curious, and if you don't try to like be a well-rounded person by developing interpersonal skills and learning about people rather than just things and events and scholarly works. Like those are all really great, but you'll learn more from traveling and meeting all sorts of people than you ever would just staring at words on a sheet of paper. And so I've learned a lot about people, and that in turn has helped me learn about who I am and what sort of experiences I like, what sort of people I get along with, what sort of people I have to maybe not really like so much change, but just kind of know how to be cordial with them in order to be successful in the classroom or even like in the workspace. And I call workspace like organization work or city work. So it's just like a really great taste of what is coming in the future. And just kind of like gaining thicker skin from all the no's that I've heard, thicker skin from the bad test grades that I've gotten, and just those sorts of experiences. It takes a lot of like diligence, I guess, and persistence to keep going, because I think one of the things that's been a huge barrier for me is like I have a vision and I see so many ways that it can get there. And I think going into university, I was like, oh my God, I'm passionate about this, this, and this. And I think these are really all great ideas. But then when you realize that people don't meet you there, or there's communication errors, or people just understand things differently, you need to take really, really baby small steps in order to meet your vision. And sometimes halfway through those steps, you just want to give it up. But with school, that's a whole nother story. But without extracurricular activities, just keep going, keeping that hard work going and trying to foster really great relationships, I think has definitely shaped me for the future.
Thank you, Shannon. Thank you for that. And Anna, would you like to add to that?
Sure. I think for me personally, a lot of my classroom experience, to answer that question in the chat, has been very theoretical communication knowledge. And so to be quite honest, I don't think I've learned as much of those kind of non-tangible skills within the classroom. Like Shannon said, it's more been through my student organizations. I had the opportunity to lead a student organization my sophomore year, and to think about kind of the growth that I've been able to have from that time to now. I sometimes think back and I was like, what was I doing? But I was only like 19. So it's been really amazing and unique to have those opportunities where I kind of feel, like we are in the workplace, we have careers, we have jobs just within student organizations at Purdue. And so it's really, I'm really fortunate to be leaving Purdue and graduating with kind of those tools under my belt, but also with the knowledge that I will always keep learning. And I think that's something that Purdue's done a really good job at, is teaching me, like I saw in the chat, to stay curious, to always keep learning, to always keep improving myself, because I know that that will serve me well after graduation as well.
Thank you. So wait, let me remember if I get, Shannon said thick skin, and Anna, you brought back your sophomore year. This is a good practice ground for life. Make your mistakes as when you're young, and then you build off of it. And that's a great example, Anna, when you said, what was I doing my sophomore year? Now look at you, your senior year, and you've come a long way. So thank you. Molly, would you like to add to that? My good.
Yes, for sure. Well, I certainly agree with Shannon and Anna, excuse me. I should just combine their names. No, just kidding. But certainly have to agree with them. I think what my curriculum focuses on is like business strategy, and how do you find results, and how do you seek results, and how do you measure success on these results. And I think that's really great from an organizational perspective of trying to figure out what to do. But it hasn't taught me a lot about how to handle certain situations, having hard conversations and working through conflict, and learning how to work with people in general. Really was learned through the experiences that I had in student organizations and working through different conflicts or challenges, or if a deadline wasn't hit, how does that impact the organization holistically? How does it impact the people? How does it impact the specific committee, whatever it may be? So that type of learning experience I'm really grateful for, because it's helped me to understand, if you make a mistake, or if there's a challenge and you don't hit it, or you don't overcome it in general, what are the consequences of that, and how do you overcome that in general? So it's taught me, I think, a lot of the personal skills about how to overcome and how to work together with people if things don't always go your way.
Important life skills in general, I think, not just here as a student, but you'll definitely carry that on and when you start in your professional field, which I'm sure will be a question later. What do you all want to do after Purdue? So if we can go ahead and go to the chat. We've got several questions, so we'll just ask them and then I'll have you volunteer to answer. Should we do it that way? And try to be as equitable as possible. Let me see. I think Joanne asked the first question. Sorry, I'm gonna have to scroll up here. Oh, goodness. I see a lot of people going to Naples. I'm happy about that. I will see you there in a couple of weeks. Okay, Joanne asked, what has been your best Purdue experience that you can share with the group? Who would like to take that on? Okay, shall I call somebody? Anna. Go ahead, Anna.
Yeah, so it's hard to choose, but for sake of time, my favorite experience at Purdue has been being a part of the Rising Professionals and Old Masters programs. So that was actually what I was referring to as a sophomore leading the Rising Professionals program. Was just an all-around outstanding opportunity to grow as a leader, but also that was kind of my first introduction to how awesome and unique Purdue alumni are. We had, the opportunity to interact with distinguished alums who had graduated in the past 5 to 10 years. And so seeing how they've grown after graduation, seeing what they got involved in at Purdue was really eye-opening for me and inspired me to kind of get involved on campus and discover my own Boilermaker experience. And I just noticed my old master, Stacy Burr, is actually on the call right now. And so it's really awesome to see how these connections just keep going. And I think, the program, it was my sophomore year, but it still sticks with me, and I still have so many connections from it. And so that was an experience that's been hard to beat.
Thanks, Anna. It's a full circle. Perhaps in a few years, we'll call you back, become a master's speaker. Next question from Lynn Wheeler is, how prevalent is student participation in campus activities at present? How is that encouraged and supported by multiple stakeholders, example, the organizations themselves, student housing groups, etc.? Molly, would you like to try to take that question?
Yes, and then if anybody else wants to add in, please feel free. I think student participation in campus activities coming back from the pandemic is increasing. So I think during the pandemic, it was really hard to engage with students and participate with them, whether it was a student organization event on campus or whether you were in the student organization, very candidly, just because everybody's at kind of different spots in the pandemic about how they were feeling about it, and how do you work with people, and how do you accommodate them, and how do you reach them and engage them. So that was a really learning experience overall. But I think as a student organization, we really encourage, the student body to engage with us through various different ways, whether that's on campus and tabling and by giving out free things or educating the student body, but also, online. There's an online presence too with students to really encourage students to engage with what's going on in the Purdue community, to get them connected, whether that's with alumni or in a professional development series, or engaging with us at a tabling event to learn more about philanthropy, whatever it may be. There's just student participation coming back really in, I would say, more of a force than it was over this past year for any organization, just due to the pandemic. If anybody has anything else they want to add, please feel free to jump in.
Yeah, I'd say that just hosting any sort of student event is really difficult. It takes a lot of work. You have to submit a lot, like within 2 weeks in advance of the actual event, because it takes a lot of planning. And when you tie in other organizations, so if they're, like, for example, if the sustainability committee wants to host an event that teaches students about how to use sustainable menstruation products, you can tie in the Feminist Action Coalition that we have on campus. You can tie in the Period Project. You can tie in another sustainability organization. So partnering together not only divvies up the work, and but it also reaches more students. And something like sustainability is a campaign platform within Olivia and I's administration. So when we are advocating for certain things to the administration, because Purdue Student Government acts as a liaison between the students and the administration, having that sort of participation and having that sort of partnership shows that sustainability, even in like the smallish niche of using hygiene products, should be recognized, and also recognized in a way like that students will take the time to plan something like this for the student body. So what can the administration learn from that generally about sustainability? So dividing, conquering, acknowledging that students have a lot of work, and also getting a lot of name recognition out for other student orgs who are putting in a lot of equally as hard work as the bigger organizations. It increases activity within on campus for sure.
And I think that applies across many divisions, many departments, many colleges, et cetera. So great point. Thank you, Shannon. I'll let you take the next question, Shannon. I'm super impressed by the emotional intelligence of all the panelists. Did your classwork help develop these skills or your leadership activities?
Right. Yeah, I touched on it. It definitely the leadership activities.
Classwork. Yes, okay. Oh, that was Amy's question. That's right. Thank you. Thank you. Okay. And then I guess I'll ask you another question then. Let's see. I think there was one more. How does the university currently encourage, support, balance, and health wellness in their students? I'd like all of you to touch on that, and then I think we'll call it for the.
I would say that it's been a battle, and especially with the pandemic, we saw that life throws a lot at you, and that wasn't just this truth is not just coming out now. Parents are having a lot of trouble with maintaining like this life, health, wellness while still trying to get like an education and still trying to work. And I think the university's goals are to graduate students who are going to really make a huge impact in the world and be experts in their field. But I think sometimes that wellness part can get a little bit lost in in trying to create like successful students. Like they think that wellness, I feel like it's not as much of a priority, but I think students are now recognizing and pushing for changes in terms of how we approach school. I think there are new creative ways to do hybrid versions, online versions, and still get an equal quality Purdue education. But what I will say is that everyone, the administrators who do make the decisions, who do put the money into a lot of programs and a lot of the departments that we have at Purdue, they are willing to sit down with students and work something out. And I think that teaches students how the university operates, and the students will want to put in that work to make something better and to create to pass better legislation to say this is what the students want and need. This will help you get there. Like this isn't just your job. You need to listen to the students, and we'll listen to how you guys operate this university as well.
Please listen.
Please listen.
Yes, thank you, Shannon. Anna, would you like to add to that?
Sure, just briefly. I mean, one thing I know firsthand personally is that group fitness classes are completely free now for all participants in the Purdue community. And that's something that's brand new. It used to be $60 for a semester, which was limiting for some students. And so that's been really exciting for our crew to be able to open it up to the Purdue community and give them that opportunity. I think in terms of kind of mental health on campus, what it's coming down to, at least what I've seen, is student leaders actually really taking an initiative in this space. So within organizations, having the leadership team be really transparent, allow a lot of flexibility for its members. I think kind of with Shannon's answer, filling in those gaps where the university might not be up to date yet, it's coming down to the leaders to make those decisions for their organizations, the professors to make those decisions for their students. I know I have one professor who's designated us to have 2 mental health days throughout the semester on top of spring break. And so coming down to those individuals who are really prioritizing the mental health of others has been really great to see, kind of starting last semester, but really coming into full effect this semester.
Great. Thank you, Anne. I did not know that it was free. That's great. That's good to know. Thank you. So Molly, can you answer that question in 1 minute?
For sure. Yes. Lightning round. Very candidly, I think this semester I've seen more of my professors be a lot more accommodating and a lot more flexible with students and where they're at more than ever before at my time at Purdue. I don't know what it is. I think probably the pandemic helped a little bit. But I had a professor put up on a slide, like the first day, like, I'm going to be patient with you. So please be patient with me and we're going to work together. And I had never seen a professor very candidly put that on a screen. And I just saw that theme throughout other classes I was in throughout the start of the semester. So I think it will take some time for professors really to adopt this. But let me tell you, like, I was really impressed to see that on a screen and very common theme throughout my classes this semester. And it makes me kind of excited for where Purdue's going.
Yeah. Yeah, that's great to know. And I hope that continues, not just because we're in the pandemic, but just in general as a fact. Ladies, I'd like to bring your attention to the chat, and there's several compliments, and make sure you read those as I close down this cocktails and conversation. So thanks again to Molly, Shannon, and Anna for speaking, and to all the participants for attending this month's Cocktails and Conversation. And to end this event, I'd just like to end with a quote from Amelia Earhart: "There's more to life than being a passenger." And I think we've seen it all with our wonderful panelists this evening. Thank you, ladies, so much again for being here. Boiler up and hail Purdue.